Hi there. Welcome to the Isogo TV podcast from isogostrong.com. I'm your host, Becky Hammond, and you and I gather here on this podcast to fixate on strength in our families and on our teams. Because when we start from assuming strength, we can make relationships easier. This is episode 119. Since the break of the global crisis, much has changed. I'm betting that 2020 is far from what you expected as the year began. Yet, here's what we're learning from this Strengths in Crisis series. This season, while it continues to challenge us daily, also has the potential to bring about a pivot point in humanity that leaves us stronger than ever before, especially as we choose to fixate on strength instead of focusing on weakness. We are now nearing the close of this series here on Isogo TV podcast about using our strengths in crisis. Perhaps more than any other series, the conversation we're having here are connecting to people. Thank you for sharing that with me. They're connecting because of the willingness and vulnerability of our guests to share in the midst of struggle, not just the glowing end when we've all made it through. Today, you get to hear from one of Isogo's very own, Elliott. Annie is responsible for getting everything Isogo produces out into the world, blog posts, newsletters, etc. As you hear in this interview, Annie has a long-standing connection with our family, and for the past 2 years, she's launched into her own dream career as a teacher to kindergartners. As you can imagine, life after mid-March took on a wildly different form for Annie and all the teachers in the elementary school where she teaches. What an interesting time to start a teaching career. Many of you have likely experienced the sudden jolt into crisis schooling at home yourselves. Annie gives us a glimpse of the other side of the curtain, from driving 100 miles less per day to 75% attendance in class to the value of dialing her strengths up and down so they don't drive her into the ground. You will enjoy this chat with Annie, and my hope is that you'll also appreciate those teachers in your life just a little bit more. Let's dive in with Elliott. All right, well, welcome Elliott to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to get to talk to you. Of course, that's just me, but I'm very excited to have everyone out there in the Isogo community really get to know you and who you are, and specifically from the position that you come from in the education system in a public school. And so I know we'll get into that, but I'm excited for that story that must be told. And I just have to give everyone a little preview that Annie and I have been working together for, actually I didn't calculate this before we started. I mean, how many years are we looking at? Cyrus was like 6 months or something when you started. Is that right?
Bram was 9 months.
Oh, Bram, shoot, and he's 7. So it's been 6.5 years.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for keeping me on track there. That's right. He wasn't even walking when you met him. Wow.
No, he wasn't. He was a baby.
That is crazy. Okay, so 6.5 years we have been working together. Our relationship has evolved over time. She originally started at helping our family as a nanny, and she did such an amazing job and was so detail-oriented that I was like, what else can I have you do? And it's just so service oriented as well, that she ended up kind of transitioning at the end of college and after college to being a part of the Isogo team. So if you go over to isogostrong.com/company, you will see Annie Elliott's beautiful picture and her bio, because she is the one that kind of keeps this engine running. I put the content together, but it would not get out into the universe unless there was an Annie Elliott. So thank you so much, Annie, not only for being on here, but just for everything that you've done for the Isogo team over the last, now I know, 6.5 years.
Of course, it's been a pleasure, and I've just loved working with you and with your family, and it's a great joy. So
oh, thanks. You've changed our lives in so many ways, and that's probably a whole nother conversation that I really want to get into, but I won't. So, so let's have everyone else get to know and love you as much as I do. Tell us a little bit about who you are, like a bit about your life before the coronavirus hit, like what you did for work and what your family is like, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Well, I teach kindergarten in a public school district in Southern California, and I have been doing that. I'm in my second year of teaching, so I'm just about to finish up. So it's been quite the introduction to my career with all of this chaos. But I feel really fortunate. I work with a great team of people, and I have fantastic students and families, and it's definitely been a lot of ebbing and flowing, and just kind of going with the flow and figuring it out. But it's been fun, and I'm really enjoying. I currently live with my parents because that's the smart thing to do. And
when you're a teacher in your second year in California.
Yeah. So I've been and I have a dog, so and a boyfriend, and just things are definitely different now, but they're than they used to be. But I've just loved, my parents have been retired, so they've been really great, and I know you asked me about my life before coronavirus, but it hasn't really been different. My life hasn't really changed too much, other than just being home more. So
yes, except for one thing. We were talking about your car. Tell us how long your commute used to be versus what it is now.
Yeah. So my typical commute is 50 miles one way. So I drive about 100 miles a day, and it's about an hour away each way. And I start school at 7:15 in the morning. So I have an early morning, and that's when students start to arrive. And but then I'm done, about 2:30, 3. So it's kind of a give and take.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dinner at a reasonable time. but yeah, so my car is definitely thanking me right now, taking a nice break.
Yeah, for 2,000 miles less per month or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. Well, haven't hit that 100,000 mile mark yet, but
not quite. But you must be inching up on it.
Yes, very closely.
Well, so we are now, as we're shooting this is towards the beginning of May. So we are at least 2 full months into the California's restrictions on what people would do, the closing of schools as public meeting places. So if you can bring us back to 2 months ago when all this kind of first started rolling out, what happened with you and your life and your schedule in those first few days or that first week or two?
Yeah, so things started getting crazy about the second week of March and getting really serious. So it was Friday, March 13th. It was a really profound date, if you're superstitious at all, for Friday the 13th. And it was also a full moon that day. So, if you put all of it into perspective, it's quite interesting how it all happened. I teach kindergarten half day. So my kids leave at 11:15, and then I do other support in the afternoon for other grade levels. And so we kind of knew something was happening, but we weren't really being told, and it wasn't a direct order, to prepare to not come back to school. And, we had an inkling. My kids left for the day, and then an hour later, during my lunch, they told us, okay, well, the district and the county and the district have officially ordered the schools to close till spring break. And that was only going to be, that was only going to be for 3 weeks plus the spring break. And that was initially what it was. So, but my kids had already left. So I just sent a message and said, hey, you'll be getting a notification, but I just wanted to give you a heads up, don't come to school on Monday and for the next 3 weeks. And then obviously no spring break. So,
wow. That gives me the goosebumps. I am like, what? You just said your regular goodbyes. There was no hugs or anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
Nothing. We were expecting to, at least be able to come back that following Monday. and, you know, make sure that we like, cause if we had known, we would have, you know, my fellow colleagues and I, we would have sent home packets and things like that to help support and, you know, provided more. But they just said, nope, we'll just go with what we have. And my district took over and they made packets for parents, paper packets. And then as we transitioned to distance learning, to help support until we could get, you know, computers distributed and stuff. But yeah, it was sad. It's still sad, but you know, there is a bright side. This will all be over someday. So
yes. Well, that is true. And you can already hear your strengths coming out. So we'll definitely get into those in a little bit here. So, okay. You got to tell me, you're a kindergarten teacher, and that means that you teach 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, right? At this point in the semester. Yes. So tell me what a day in the life looks like now that you are a kindergarten teacher who's supposed to be teaching from a digital perspective. Like what is that like?
I don't really know. It's been an interesting transition. The perspective that my district has, due to equitability and accessibility for our student population, none of the work since March 13th is required. And so basically, the kids, they left on March 13th with whatever grades they had or scores that they had or assessments that the teachers had conducted, because progress reports were due like 2 weeks later. So like it was right during an assessment period. So we all kind of had an idea of where our kids were, but there's still a lot of growth to happen, especially in kindergarten at this time of the year. I mean, it's a huge growing period. So right now, really all, you know, because it's not required, all that they're expecting the teachers to do is provide work digitally so we assign assignments through Google Classroom, and we utilize our Clever portal, and we, you know, to assign our language arts curriculum and our any other online app access. Like we use a couple of reading apps and math apps and stuff. So, you know, I schedule everything on Monday for the whole week. I have a meeting, usually a Google Meet meeting with my class every Monday at 10. And that is, you know, it's kind of hit or miss sometimes. I've, you know, had about 75% generally of my kids attending, which is great. I think
that seems pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But it's slowly, you know, they're slowly dwindling, and the work is slowly dwindling as we're approaching summer. But, you know, we're just under 4 weeks away from our last day of school. So we still have some work to do, but we're getting there.
Yeah. You're getting to the let's just watch a movie and have a party anyway kind of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly. So hopefully you can just push through that far, right?
Yes.
So after everything closed down and you didn't even get to go back to your classroom, you didn't get to see your students again in person. What additional stress did that kind of bring to your life or to your work?
Well, when you're kind of ripped out of what you love to do, you know, this isn't like summer vacation. I've seen a lot of things online and, you know, all these teachers I bet they're enjoying their early summer break. And it's like, this isn't summer break, because when we go to summer break, there's a lot of preparation that we have mentally and that we prepare the kids mentally for, and physically, you know, it's a whole process. And so, you know, I've definitely gone through kind of a grieving period of not being able to be with my students and see this huge growth spurt that usually happens this time of year in kindergarten, and enjoy it with them. And, you know, I'm doing the best that I can. You know, I'm getting letters from students with their drawings and being mailed to my house. And I also have, you know, I've told the parents multiple times, you know, send me any pictures if your, you know, student wants to show me something. I'd love to see it. So I get pictures every week of, you know, just different things. Like one of my students just sent me a picture yesterday, and he lost his front tooth on the bottom, and the first that I guess his mom said was, I just want to show Miss Elliott. Can I show Miss Elliott? So, you know, it was really sweet. And, you know, still being able to be part of those big moments for these tiny humans is exciting, but it's also sad. So I'm looking forward to, eventually when we can get back to some sort of normalcy. But,
yeah. As if we knew what that was going to be like, right? I mean, I can imagine that even that in and of itself, that kind of uncertainty. I mean, I experienced it in my own life, just our family figuring out like what's next and different, with my own clients and with David's job that got postponed. So what does that feel like to you, to kind of feel like nothing's set yet, even for next year?
Yeah, well, I have discipline in my top 5. So I'm very, and responsibility too. So I am very organized and planned. I like to have a plan, and I have futuristic too. So, that adds to it. And I really, it's definitely challenging not being in the routine that I'm used to. But I also have, all these ideas and thoughts about what it could be like, or what it, ideas of what could work and how we can make this safe until, there's a vaccine, or, we can get, through this tough period where we can get to, enough herd immunity or whatever, so I'm trying not to think too much about, what could be, or what I think could be, I should say, and just kind of waiting for direction, but also trying to be proactive and think about mentally preparing myself, at least for, how different things might be for a while.
Right. I mean, because you were so mentally unprepared when you got ripped out of your situation that I can feel, it feels like, I mean, I think that's was such a wise thing to say, that you're like went into grieving, and now you're kind of like protecting yourself a little bit, like, right? Like, well, I don't want to expect this one thing and then this other thing is going to be happening. And I feel like that's something that we might be anticipating being a normal for the next, I don't know, couple of years. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it seems like at least a couple of years. Yeah.
And it's definitely, it's taking a toll, I think, on everybody's mental health, and we just have to be kinder to one another, just because everyone processes things differently. And that's one thing that I'm trying to really hard to remember. So,
That's good. Right. Including school districts, right?
Including school districts.
So there's all this additional stress, but there's also some benefit. And I know that, that it's spoken out loud. And I know just from your personality and your perspective that I'm sure that you've been experiencing some benefits as well. What have been some of the things that stood out to you as something that, these are good things that would not have happened, but for the fact that I was ripped out of my classroom on March 13th?
Yeah. For me, mostly it's rest. I'm feeling, a lot of days that I was, had a lot of 12-hour days from work, including my commute, that's including my long commute that I have. So, just having the opportunity to really get good rest and like get into a good routine for rest and rejuvenation. And I'm taking good care of my hair, because I haven't been able to get a haircut in, 2 months, and I have long hair. So, I'm doing, I actually feel like I have the time now to, just kind of pamper myself a little bit. And, but also really savoring the time I'm getting to spend with my parents. And, I feel really fortunate that I have had the opportunity to spend so much more time with them. And my dog too. I mean, my dog is going to have some serious separation anxiety when we go back to the normalcy. So I try my best to not have her with me constantly, like she would like to be. So, just really enjoying the slowness and the rest that comes with it. So.
Oh, yes. I love that. I love that, that somehow, even though our mental state is kind of overtaxed, that the physicality of being rested and all that, like, maybe can make up for it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we have chatted a little bit, kind of dipped our fingers into your top 5 strengths and how those might be impacting your perspective on this event, or how you're dealing with it, or how you feel about it. So let's talk about that. Let's open that up a little bit more. First of all, why don't you just tell us what your top 5 strengths are, and then give us an idea of how is understanding your strengths, how has knowing them been helpful to navigating these past couple months?
Yeah. So starting from the top, I have developer, discipline, responsibility, relator, and futuristic.
Awesome.
And
combo.
so I have yeah. So, and then my 6 through 10 also, I have, I have a lot of relationship strengths, but most of them actually in my top 10. So I feel like I've been able to kind of tune into how I'm maybe overusing or underusing some of my strengths. And I definitely feel like for a while I was overusing my discipline, like being, getting really frustrated because I didn't have a plan, and, getting frustrated with, my work, and just not really knowing what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And I've kind of pulled it back a little bit and toned it down so that I could really, so that I can not be so anxious about things and frustrated when things aren't happening the way I want them to.
Wait. You mean you haven't been able to control every detail of your life for the last 2 months? What?
Right? That's why I'm a teacher, because I have my little ecosystem that I just kind of,
that's right. Exactly.
that I can kind of, mold and contort into what I like. So, but I've definitely seen my futuristic blossom. I mean, it's definitely been an interesting experience, because I am a planner, and and I like to think about what can be, and what I'd like to see happen. And I've always kind of been like that. I like to visualize where I'd like to see my life. I've always, had a 5-10 year plan for my life with whatever stage I'm in, and had an idea, and and it's surprising. Like, I've stuck to that 5 to 10 year plan. And I think my discipline.
This futuristic talent, David has it too, as you know. I'm just like, it's like this beautiful thing. Like, how do you do that? Like, see into the future and then actually get there or make it happen. Like, that's the part that I'm like, well, I can see tomorrow's goals, and I can pretty much do those. But painting a picture thing is not my forte.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, because we were talking a little bit earlier, like that you feel like maybe your core strength, or something that you really have been relying on, has maybe shifted over time, or maybe shifted in this crisis. Tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely. So I would say typically I'd say my discipline strength is pretty much my core strength. Like, that's how I live my life. I live it in structure, and, not to say that I'm not fun on vacation, because I do like to just kind of go with the flow. You can ask my boyfriend about that, but I like to have an idea. But I've really seen my futuristic come out of the woodwork a little bit, and I never would have thought that would be a core strength. But I think with everything right now, it's given me some comfort, I guess I could say, and really knowing, and then also having connectedness in my, in my 6 through 10, and being able to see those come together a little bit, and just knowing that we'll all be okay. Everything will work out. We'll be fine. It's just, we just have to give it time. We need to be kind to one another, kind to ourselves, patient, and and I've kind of let my discipline and kind of settle down a little bit, and, allow myself to kind of get into my summer mode of not sticking to this stuffy, structured schedule all the time. I definitely have a routine. I like to wake up by a certain time. I like to eat breakfast. I like to do my workouts. I take my dog for a walk and things. But the in-betweens, I allow myself, like I took a nap yesterday, and I don't remember the last time I took a nap in the middle of the day, but I felt like I needed it. So I did. And it's
You're
like,
whoa, it wasn't
so
even
fortunate.
in my color-coded calendar that I should take a nap.
I had not written it in my planner.
Oh, that's amazing. So tell us, like, what is your futuristic see for yourself, or for the crisis, or for like, what's the part of it that kind of brings you that peace? Because you definitely said, like, it's all going to work out and stuff. And I hear like connectedness, like little stars going off in my head. What's that picture that you feel like has been helpful for you to look forward to, that gives you that peace?
Well, for me, I think it's mostly just, I guess, no, I don't know how to put it into words. I'm a big science buff. So I think that if we follow the science will lead us where we need to go. And so I think that, we just need to put our faith and trust in the scientists that are working diligently. And, anyone in that profession and field, and just knowing that they're working towards something, and we need to be patient. And, it's not going to happen overnight. This happened so suddenly, and, it was we all kind of just got smacked with it, because there was, just like the Spanish flu in there, 100 years ago. It's like, this is just how life is. And, we just need to, I think that that's what's kind of helping drive my, direction. And I'm just trying really hard to keep up with, like, the WHO and any of the, science groups and the labs that are working at the different universities that are working hard towards this around the world. And I think I'm just, allowing myself to see the bigger picture, that, there are specialists at work. I need to do my part for now, whether my part I only have to do this for, 6 months, or if I have to do it for 2 years, who knows? But I definitely think that it's going to change. This has been a big wake up call, I think, and it's going to change how we approach things, and how we approach the world, and just how we live. And, I already try to live a little bit sustainably. So, I'm excited to see how this is going to manifest in, like, local productions and things like that too.
Yeah.
Food and everything. But
yeah, well, you live in Southern California. I mean, from a connectedness standpoint, like, I have other friends who are like, you should see outside, like the sky is so clear, and I can't imagine what the fish are feeling, all those things.
It's beautiful. We've had, we had a little bit of crummy weather with some rain, but it was I think so needed. And, it's springtime, and the flowers are blooming, and everything is green. And, I think that having less people, out has definitely been, a nice break for our earth. But,
yes,
we just need to, keep it up, and, be more conscientious of how we treat the world, I guess. So,
yeah, it'll be
including other humans.
Well, that's true. That's true too. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, like, we can hold on to some of these benefits, or, like, even to yourself, right? Like, you've talked about the rest and feeling rejuvenated, and, like, how much better you feel in your life and your mental state and all that, because of a fairly simple thing, but that's very difficult to do. I know that as well. Like, to get enough rest. Like, what does that look like in a future life when we can say, okay, you know what? I remember how good that felt. Like, are we going to do that? Like, are we going to remember how good that felt to have enough rest, and that, like, how clear our minds were, and how much more productive we were able to be because of that rest? Or, like you said, how we treat other people. Are we going to remember, like, man, I miss people, right? Or are we going to be like, oh, people, they're so frustrating,
Yes, and we're only human. We're going to have our moments. But I think that this is definitely, at least for me personally, it's been it was a real wake up call, just with how I was living my life and kind of being caffeine dependent on waking up because I wasn't going to bed early enough, and, you know, just not really taking care and seeing the effect in how my skin looked and just how I felt. And, you know, just being, it's been an interesting, eye-opening moment for me, at least. And I'm so grateful for it personally, but
yes, totally. I mean, we have to find the things to be grateful for. And I had another guest on that I was just listening to the other day again, and that said, like, we got to write these things down. Like, if we don't write these down, then we're going to forget, like, you know, like how my body reacted to getting less caffeine and more rest, like, go figure. But yet we forget, you know, because it's like, oh, everything's back up and running. Let's jump right back into it. But do we really want to get back into it 100% the same way? I think most people I'm talking to are saying, well, not really.
Not really. Well, and that's, I think, the American mentality too. You know, we're very goal oriented. What you do is who you are. And, you know, when you talk to someone, the first question you should ask, what's your name? Oh, what do you do? And then, oh, are you married, or do you have kids, or what are your hobbies? You know, those aren't the things that are typically asked first. It's, oh, what do you do? You know, and taking a step back and right now it's like, well, you know, I am a teacher and an educator, but I'm also a daughter, a girlfriend, a friend, a dog mom. I have, you know, like I crave the outdoors and, you know, things like that. And, you know, it's getting back to the root of who we are and what makes us happy and fulfills us, you know, and remembering that our work is not the only thing that we have, and
it's not our
really
only identifier. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love the way that that conversation took us, because I think it's so true. It's like we don't, we're not just our work. And when work is, you know, it's not stripped away for 1 out of every 6 people it actually has been stripped away. Right. And for the rest of us, or the rest of most people, like, their work looks different no matter what, no matter if you are a front line and you still need to go to work, or if you are like you and I, and we've been able to be fortunate enough to have things virtual, like, no matter what, it looks different. And so if our identity has been wrapped up in this, then we're having a hard time. And when it's stripped away, you see what else is left. And like you said, there's the relationships, the family, your spirituality, your outdoorsiness, your connection to other things besides your work. And work's not bad. It's really, really good. But when it becomes the ultimate thing, then you start to you suffer when it's stripped away. So
yeah, exactly.
Really wise things. Well, as we kind of close up here, what advice or encouragement would you give to a person, maybe another teacher? Like, let's talk to the other teachers that are out there, because you're a teacher, you're in your 2nd year, you're fresh, you have ideas, you have this ability to kind of cast a dream for yourself and for others. What advice or encouragement would you give to other teachers out here who are kind of trying to make it through the last few weeks of school and thinking about the next year?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that you are doing fine. You know, you're doing everything that you need
your
to
mantra.
do. Yes. You're okay. The kids are okay, you know, and that's one of my favorite things about being in education, is just seeing how amazing kids are, even from an early age, from TK all the way through high school and college, and just how, you know, they are resilient little human beings, and so are we. And we are all going to get through this, and we just need to be patient and understanding and supportive of one another, you know, and not compare ourselves to how others are doing things, because, you know, every school does things differently. Every district does things differently. Every teacher runs their classroom differently. And so for me, it's been, you know, I am doing everything that I know how to do, and that's good enough. And if I have even one kid that is getting something out of it, one of my students, then I feel like I've done my job, because, that's one more person that, future engineer or future doctor, future sanitation worker, future whatever, that, still got valuable work done in kindergarten. And I think that this is going to take an interesting turn, or make for an interesting change in education and how we approach education. And I think it's something that we've needed for a long time, and I'm excited to be part of it. So yeah.
That is a really, really cool point to end on. Not only that we are doing okay, everything's going to be okay. I have to keep telling myself, I keep joking, like there's people are going to be like, were you in first grade in the beginning of 2020? That's why you can't read that well. No big deal.
Yeah.
You totally get a pass on that. That's what I'm thinking for my son, but, there's grace for that. There's room for that. It's as a teacher, like, you guys are doing so much to help support our families, to help keep their sanity, to help keep their flow going, and to keep their kids learning and just loving learning. And in the end, especially in kindergarten, that's what it's about, is like loving to learn. It's not necessarily that you got, this number of hours in doing XYZ worksheet, right? It's like the love of learning, and you as a teacher are just doing a wonderful job of that still. And I just, appreciate your encouragement and advice to others, being a part of a pivot in humanity, in education, and in so many different parts of our world. So, so thanks for sharing your story, for sharing the story of teachers, and for the story of your strengths of being able to figure out, like, okay, what's bothering me? What do I need to turn down? What do I need to turn up? And seeing that you've been able to be successfully able to do that over the last couple months. And I'm excited to see what's in store for you next year as you help the education system pivot.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how things, get molded into fitting into this kind of new normal that we're going to have to live in, and see what lessons we learn from it. And I'm just, I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm more optimistic now than I was before. So
yes.
Yes.
Exactly. And you're more rested too, which really, that probably helps.
That's definitely the number one. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you shared your story, and I'm looking forward to everyone hearing it. Chat later.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. The tooth story is the one that keeps getting me. Don't you remember, poignantly, those elementary school teachers who truly saw you, who opened your eyes to something that you came to love, who smiled at you every single day, and they believed in you? We love our teachers, and we want them to celebrate us with us, especially in huge things like that missing tooth. Our kids' teachers are carrying stress and uncertainty and trying to navigate a totally new terrain. Yet beneath it all, they miss our kids. They still believe in our kids, and they are waiting for those moments that they'll get to be together again. Thanks, Annie, for sharing a teacher's story. To connect with Annie Elliott, you can find her on LinkedIn as Annette Elliott. She once told me that every consonant in her name is doubled. That helped me quite a bit in spelling. So find her and send her a little note of encouragement on LinkedIn. In fact, consider using this moment to send a note of encouragement to the teachers who mean the most to your kids too. While the impact of crisis and world change are still a living and breathing specimen, they're still real, we're coming to a close on this series soon. It's been one of my personal favorites, and I can't thank my guests enough for their willingness to show up as they are and share stories and experiences in the midst of struggle that have touched us all. If we're not already connected, I would love to connect with you on Instagram and LinkedIn, where we can continue this conversation around strengths in families and in healthcare teams. On Instagram, you can find me at Isogo Strong, and on LinkedIn, Becky Hammond. Also, let's talk about your strengths for a quick second before we sign off. If you don't know your top 5 Clifton strengths from the Strengths Finder yet, or if you know them, but you don't really feel like you've done much with them yet, you're not in a boat all by yourself. Many great leaders and and parents have yet to discover their strengths and how to find out how to really let them make an impact in their lives and in their work. And really, it's so much easier than you might think to start. I'd love to help give you that jump start as your virtual coach. Since you've joined us here today, I'd also love to give you $5 off the Strength Startup Virtual Coach Kickstarter, which makes it in total under 20 bucks. In this email coaching series for me, you'll get insights into your talents and strengths, as well as some action that you can take to make relationships easier around you, in stress and beyond. If you go over to isogostrong.com/strength startup, you can check it out. There are two options there. One if you already know your top 5 strengths, and one if you have yet to discover them. So you can choose the track that's best for you. I would be honored to get to know you. And don't forget, use the code VIRTUALCOACH5 for $5 off. You and your strengths have the power to make a ripple effect in your family and on your team, and ultimately across the entire world. We can feel that now more than ever. The world needs your strengths. So learn them, love them, and live them in your own circles of influence. Until next time on Isogo TV.